Throughout history, the most powerful victories weren't achieved through force, but through strategy and intelligence. In today's world, conflict rarely requires a physical fight. It's about navigating challenges with patience, wisdom, and skill. In this video, I'm going to show you 7 ways to handle modern conflicts in a way that leaves your opponent disarmed and defeated, without ever needing to engage in a direct confrontation or resort to unnecessary aggression or hostility. Number 1. Know who you're dealing with. Imagine you're setting off on a journey through mysterious waters. No map, no compass, and no idea what lurks beneath the surface. You might be sailing smoothly one moment, only to crash into hidden rocks the next. That's what it's like to dive into a conflict without knowing who you're up against. You could be heading straight into a storm you can't outrun, all because you didn't take the time to understand your opponent. In today's world, conflicts often start quietly, but can escalate quickly if you don't know what buttons to avoid pushing. Is the person in front of you someone who thrives on chaos or crumbles under pressure? Do they wield charm like a weapon, or do they retreat and strike when you least expect it? Without these insights, you're not just at a disadvantage. You're playing a game you don't even know the rules to. But here's the trick. When you take the time to figure out their strengths and, more importantly, their weaknesses, you can stay ahead. Maybe they lose their cool when things don't go their way, or they buckle when someone stays calm under pressure. By reading the situation like a seasoned captain steering through tricky waters, you don't just avoid unnecessary conflict. You make sure you're always in control, no matter how rough things get. Number 2. Choose your battles wisely. Imagine you're trekking through an endless mountain range. Some peaks are towering and intimidating, while others seem easy enough to conquer. Now, would you waste your time and energy trying to scale every single mountain, even the ones that lead nowhere? Of course not. Some mountains just aren't worth the climb. The same goes for conflict. If you try to engage in every battle that comes your way, you'll wear yourself out long before you reach your destination. In life, conflicts can pop up everywhere, but not all of them deserve your attention. Some are just distractions, small obstacles that might seem big in the moment, but, in the grand scheme of things, are insignificant. Other battles are steep and dangerous, ones you know you can't win or aren't worth the risk. So why waste your energy? Choosing your battles wisely means knowing when to fight and when to let things slide. Maybe someone's pushing your buttons at work or in your personal life, but ask yourself, is this really worth my time? Or is it a mountain that'll only drain me, with no reward at the top? Number 3. Set clear boundaries. Imagine you're defending a fortress. Without clear walls or gates, enemies can stroll right in, taking what they want, causing chaos, and leaving you vulnerable. In the same way, if you don't set clear boundaries in life, conflicts can escalate, and you'll find yourself constantly on the defensive, fighting battles you never intended to engage in. Boundaries aren't about being aggressive. They're about defining your space, both physically and emotionally. When you establish clear limits, you let others know how far they can go and what's off limits. Without these boundaries, people can unknowingly cross lines, and suddenly, a small issue becomes a full-blown conflict. But with clear boundaries, you stop conflicts before they even start. In a tense situation, setting boundaries could be as simple as saying, "I won't engage in this right now," or "I need space." By drawing those lines, you avoid being dragged into unnecessary arguments or confrontations. Boundaries are your first defense in any conflict. They help you maintain control, stay calm, and keep the fight from ever getting off the ground. Number 4. Choose not to respond and don't argue. Think of a wildfire. Sometimes trying to fight it head-on only makes it spread faster. The same goes for conflict. When you respond impulsively or engage in an argument, it's like throwing fuel on the fire. The more you argue, the more the situation escalates, often leaving both sides feeling frustrated and resentful. Choosing not to respond can be one of the most powerful strategies in any conflict. It's not about avoiding the issue, it's about recognizing when engaging will only make things worse. Silence, or a calm refusal to argue, can diffuse tension faster than any heated exchange. When you resist the urge to react, you take control of the situation and prevent it from spiraling out of hand. Arguing doesn't often lead to resolution. It typically ends in resentment. Both parties dig their heels in, trying to win the battle, but neither actually listens. Instead of resolving the issue, you're left with lingering frustration. By choosing not to engage in an argument, you protect your peace and let the conflict die down on its own. Sometimes, the strongest response is no response at all. Number 5. Use humor while staying kind and calm. Imagine you're in the middle of a heated argument and suddenly someone cracks a light-hearted joke. Not a harsh one, but something that cuts through the tension. The atmosphere shifts instantly. Humor, when used wisely, can disarm even the most heated conflict. It's like a sudden breeze that cools the fire, making it harder for anger to survive. When things get tense, people often get defensive or emotional, but a well-placed moment of humor, delivered with kindness, can diffuse that tension and allow both sides to breathe. Humor doesn't mean dismissing the seriousness of the situation. It means finding a way to shift the energy and remind everyone that things don't have to be so intense. Kindness plays an equally powerful role. When you remain kind and calm, it becomes incredibly hard for the other person to continue attacking. Kindness leaves very little to criticize. What can someone say when you're treating them with respect? Instead of fanning the flames of conflict, kindness can gently smother it, leaving your opponent with no fuel to continue. Number 6. Find a win-win and offer value. Think of a tug of war. Each side pulls harder, hoping the other will lose their grip. But what if, instead of pulling, you let go of the rope and suggested a different way to win, one that benefits both sides? That's the power of finding a win-win solution in any conflict. Instead of focusing on beating your opponent, focus on creating an outcome where both sides walk away satisfied. In many conflicts, both parties are so wrapped up in their desire to win that they miss opportunities to find common ground. But when you shift your mindset from defeating the other person to offering something valuable, you change the entire dynamic. Offering value means considering what the other person needs and finding a way to meet that need while also achieving your goals. It's not about giving in, it's about being smart enough to see the bigger picture. By finding a win-win, you disarm your opponent, turning them from an adversary into a partner in solving the problem. When both parties feel like they're walking away with something valuable, there's no need for a fight. Number 7. Don't be afraid to walk away if necessary. Imagine you're standing at a poker table. The stakes are high, and every player is fully invested in winning. But the truth is, the smartest player in the room isn't the one who stays in the game the longest. It's the one who knows when to fold and walk away with their gains intact. In many conflicts, the same logic applies. Sometimes the best way to win is by stepping back and refusing to play the game at all. Walking away doesn't mean you've lost. In fact, it often means you've already won. Conflict rarely brings the resolution people expect. It tends to fuel resentment, escalate tension, and leave both sides feeling drained. By choosing to walk away, you take control of the situation, refusing to engage in a battle that might only deepen the divide. In many cases, walking away can actually defuse the conflict entirely. Without your engagement, the tension has nowhere to go and simply fades. You've won, not by overpowering the other person, but by refusing to get stuck in a cycle that leads nowhere.